What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I am so tired of trying to fight the good fight. I don't know how to equate any better than what I have right now. Wade, I love you, bro. Wade, I love you, bro. Can't thank you enough about that time when I was down in against the Eagles and everything else, hanging out with you at the game and everything else. We had a ball. The Eagles kicked our ass, but still, it was great to meet you. And it's always great with all the stuff that you send me and things and all that. But I'm sorry, Wade, I cannot agree with you with the last statement where you say that the only times we won the Super Bowl was when we drafted a great quarterback, first-round quarterback. So first of all, let me say this. Roger Staubach was drafted in the 13th round. Roger Staubach was drafted in the 13th round of the NFL draft. He was not a first-round draft pick. Troy Aikman, yes, was. But for you to say that we just need a first-round quarterback to win the Super Bowl denigrates all of the great players those were on those teams. Sorry, bro. When you say the only reason why we are not a dynasty is because Dak Prescott is not drafted in the first round, says that Charles Haley, you didn't mean shit. Bob Lilly, you didn't mean shit. Mel Renfro, you didn't mean shit. Chuck Howley, you didn't mean shit. Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, and Too Tall Jones, none of you guys mean shit. Because it was only Roger fucking Staubach. That's literally what you guys are saying. That's literally what you guys are saying. That Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith, Eric Williams, Nate Newton, that none of those guys had anything to do with the Cowboys winning those Super Bowls. Let me ask you this. Real question. As you go through and constantly say it's just the quarterback, how many players on the Dallas Cowboys right now could start on either of those two dynasties? I'll wait. How many of those guys, how many of those Hall of Famers that were part of those teams do we have better than right now? I'll wait. Because last I checked, we had incredible players on what was called the Doomsday Defense. They were so good that they didn't name themselves the Hot Boys. They were named by the media Doomsday Defense. How many people on the current Dallas Cowboys team do we literally look at and call them a manster? Half man, half monster. That teams literally feared. How many? Way I look at it right now, Micah Parsons could probably be a starter. D-Law would probably be a backup. Who else on these teams? Now, Diggs, maybe, if he's healthy. Out of the whole defense, take a look at some of the guys like Charlie Waters at safety. Look at some of the offensive linemen like Rayfield Wright. Come on, man. Look at some of the running backs, like Tony Dorsett, Emmitt Smith. We do not have anything close to what those teams had. Nothing close to what they had. If you had a team, and I get it. The Cowboys were close against San Francisco. You're right, Wade. You're right. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that you see you don't seem to understand. You remember when we played the Giants and Emmitt Smith separated his shoulder? Did the Cowboys just say, you know what? We got this, Emmitt. Troy Aikman, he's going to win this game for us. No. That team was built on that running game. They needed their running back with a separated shoulder to continue to do the load. Why? Because they didn't have faith in the quarterback could win the game with his arm. And see, here's the thing. When you go into playoff games, like we did against San Francisco, and you said, hey, had Dak gotten that pass in there? When your lead running back has 26 yards, your quarterback has 21 yards running, your other back has like 22. You're putting everything on one guy. One guy. When you have just one target, like we had against San Francisco with CD, because your running back got injured, your other running back was missing in action, and you didn't have any other viable targets like other than Noah Brown and a gimpy wide receiver, that's not what Roger Staubach had to work with going down in those Super Bowls. That's not what Troy Aikman had to work with going and winning those Super Bowls. And when you have to become one-dimensional, where it's either win or lose by the quarterback's arm, and the defense knows that, it's a lot harder on the quarterback to be able to make plays. That's the honest to God truth. Kansas City, Andy Reid's coming back. But do we honestly look and say, if it weren't for Kansas City's defense, along with Pat Mahomes, if it wasn't for Kansas City's defense, when Pat Mahomes threw the interception when they were down 10-0, stopping them, that they win that Super Bowl, you're going to tell me that without Pacheco picking up those hard yards in that game, that Kansas City wins that Super Bowl with just Pat Mahomes? No. And you cannot honestly look at what the Dallas Cowboys have right now and say that the talent level is as good as Kansas City. You can't say that the talent level the Dallas Cowboys have is as good as the 49ers. Now, I get it. We didn't show up against Green Bay Packers. They can say we were tired and all that. They overlooked that team. They thought that was in the bag, that all they had to do was show the F up. Bottom line, that's what they thought. And what happened was, they came in there and they got punked. And before they even woke the hell up, the game was already over. That shit happens. That is on the coaching. That is on the coaching. But even if we had won that game, I don't know that you had enough to compete against other teams. Just look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Brock Purdy, and I know I'll hear from Dude. Hold it. I'm at the dump. Forgot where I was. But let me put it this way. Did Troy Aikman have the best offensive line in football? They called him the Great Wall of Dallas. Great Wall of Dallas. Do we have a Great Wall in Dallas right now? Hell, we have a hard time fielding the same offensive line week after week. Do you look at it and say that Biotish is the same as Mark Spiknowski? I doubt it. Do you look at it and say Jason Peters, when he came in and played for us, that he was like Mark Tuinei at this point? I doubt it. Do you look at it and say that we got guys like Googs, Eric Williams, and Larry Allen on our offensive line right now? Do you look at it and say we got Emmitt Smith? With all that, do you look at it and say that we have a number one, Michael Irvin? You can say that about CD, but a number two like Alvin Harper to go across? Do you look at it and say, even with all that, that we had a security blanket? That Troy Aikman literally had to have a security blanket, even having great wide receivers, best offensive line in football, and the all-time leading running back. He had a Jay Novacek. Now, that's not to say that Ferguson can't be as good as Jay Novacek. Time will tell. Do you look at it and say that the Dallas Cowboys are trying to upgrade the roster and bring in more players like Deion Sanders, like Charles Haley, like Nate Newton, like Jay Novacek? Because those are players that the Cowboys brought in. Those are players that the Dallas Cowboys added to the roster, not by drafting, but through free agency. Do you look at this team and say they are doing all of the same things that they did back in the 90s to win a Super Bowl? And you can't look and compare what this team is to those. You can change the quarterback. You can try and draft a number one guy. You can try and trade for Justin Herbert, who's the number one guy, first round pick. You can trade for Justin Herbert. That's a number one pick right there. But last I checked, those guys ain't winning Super Bowls either. Neither are the Mac Joneses or the Zach Wilsons. You got to get this out of your head that the only problem we have is quarterback. You solve all those other problems, you solve those problems, and it's still a problem in winning the Super Bowl with Dak, by all means, get somebody else. But if I'm looking at position by position right now, if I had to get rid of one position, Dak or Terrence Steele? Terrence Steele's the one I changed. Dak or Biotis? Biotis is the one. Dak, Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith. Dak or my defensive line? My defensive line. You got to pick and choose what you're going to work on. If you get another quarterback, guess what? You still have all those other problems. You still don't have a running game. You still don't have your offensive line taken care of. You still don't have a freaking linebacker. Come on, guys. Wake up. Wake up. Stuff just drives me crazy after a while. I don't know how you can look at the team and say, this is a complete team, that the only problem we have is freaking quarterback. Sorry. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And it's literally insulting all of the greats of the Dallas Cowboys past. Peace.